AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun. You don't really love America if you hate half the people in it. And also if you hate a lot of the things that everybody always loved about it. There's an oft-repeated moment in political debates where the moderator says to the two candidates, say something nice about your opponent.
Ever since Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez started getting floated as the Democrats' shining star for the 2028 election, Bill Maher has been sounding the alarm louder than ever. He already tried to warn the party back in 2024 when the Democratic National Committee rallied behind Kamala Harris. But his concerns were largely ignored, and everyone saw how that story played out. Now Maher has returned to the spotlight, even more vocal, pointing out what he believes are the same warning signs emerging around the party's newest political favorite. In many ways, it sounds like a last-minute appeal to Democrats not to repeat the same mistake twice. So if you're ready for straight-talk political commentary without the filter, hit subscribe and let's break this down.
What do you think of the fact that the people who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders? They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. Okay, but I feel like, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase. It's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean, Cory Booker, I know you've worked with him. I like Cory a lot from my home state of New Jersey. Made a speech for 25 hours. Again, just whacking each other off. This is just not what's going to get the job done.
Only a few days after talk began circulating about AOC potentially stepping in as the party's next big figure after Kamala Harris, things started getting messy. Instead of projecting strong, steady leadership, she's stumbled through a series of uncomfortable media moments that have raised eyebrows. Her comments on the economy and scattered policy remarks have left audiences puzzled rather than inspired. Instead of calming voters or building confidence, the message often feels chaotic. If Democrats are seriously considering her as their centerpiece for 2028, they may need to pause and rethink that strategy. Because the more she talks, the louder the same question becomes. Is she truly the party's strongest option?
It's low because everyone has two jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids.
Everybody's an idiot except for me.
Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world. When this country
It is the system that, unlike all the others, has lifted more people out of poverty over the course of human history than any other system.
Well, so I think that those things that you talk about, that you discuss, are part of the course of...
This concern is exactly why commentators like Bill Maher keep ringing the warning bell about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Take away the dramatic speeches, the viral social media moments, and the constant outrage-driven messaging, and critics argue there isn't much depth behind it. Volume often replaces substance. Confrontation gets treated like leadership, but a clear roadmap for the future? That's harder to find. Maher believes the party is mistaking attention for effectiveness, and if Democrats anchor their entire 2028 strategy around AOC, he suggests they're gambling with much more than just another election. They could be risking a major political setback.
A serious problem for Democrats. Less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be an American. 54% say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed? Like America's your mom picking you up at school? You're embarrassed to be an American? Well, guess what? The feeling's mutual, because you have no perspective. Is America perfect? No, of course not. No country.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Party has been facing a steady drop in support as many voters grow frustrated with what they see as an overwhelming focus on woke politics. Joe Biden didn't leave office riding a wave of momentum. His presidency ended with a sense of fatigue and unfinished promises. Kamala Harris struggled to energize voters, often criticized for unclear messaging and awkward speeches that failed to inspire confidence. Now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez appears to be leaning even further into the same ideological lane that critics say is pushing middle-of-the-road voters away. Some supporters hope figures like Gavin Newsom or Tim Walz could step in and steady the party. But their political records have also drawn criticism, from policy missteps to accusations of virtue signaling. As a result, many longtime Democrats are drifting towards centrist candidates, independent movements, or simply tuning out politics altogether. The deeper problem may not just be leadership, it may be a political philosophy that many voters feel no longer matches economic realities or everyday concerns.
Really love America if you hate half the people in it. And also if you hate a lot of the things that everybody always loved about it. There's an oft-repeated moment in political debates where the moderator says to the two candidates, say something nice about your opponent.
Before getting to Maher's bigger point, it's worth examining what exactly he's criticizing. According to Bill Maher, a growing faction within the Democratic Party, especially the progressive wing represented by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has developed what he sees as an intense hostility toward the country itself. He argues that constant outrage, identity-focused politics, and skepticism toward patriotism have become defining features of the movement. In this environment, anything associated with Donald Trump is instantly labeled toxic, even if the policy itself might benefit the country. Tax reductions can be branded discriminatory. Border enforcement can be labeled xenophobic. Domestic energy production can be framed as climate denial. For Maher, the problem isn't simply opposition to Trump, it's what he calls a reflexive rejection of ideas based purely on who proposed them. In his view, that mindset risks alienating everyday Americans who still believe strongly in their country.
All the talk about fighting for the soul of America, nobody seems to like it very much. Too many liberals give the impression that to them, America is just a big, ugh. The red, white, and ew. A country that started out bad and will always be bad, founded on an unrelenting history of sucking and unable to change. But we have changed a lot. Democrat Cori Bush tweeted, "This land is stolen land and black people still aren't free." And this was on the 4th of July. Really? Not that I give a shit about the 4th of July. I've never been a rah-rah guy. But I am a perspective guy, and that's what too much of the left.
Spend a few minutes scrolling through social media, and you can sometimes feel that tension instantly. Open a platform like Twitter, glance at the trending discussions, and the sheer level of anger directed at America can be overwhelming. Some of the loudest voices online appear to treat criticism of the country almost like a badge of honor. They highlight every historical failure, every political flaw, and every social controversy as proof that the nation itself is fundamentally broken. Yet many of those critics enjoy freedoms, speech, opportunity, mobility that remain rare across large parts of the world. Anyone who has traveled beyond the United States can see that the freedoms many Americans take for granted are far from universal. That's why some observers see this wave of online activism not as courageous, but disconnected from global reality.
72% of black people under 30 are optimistic about their future in America. Way more than white people the same age. And as far as the land goes, yes, I guess we could change the name of Captain America to Captain Stolen Land. But honestly, to all the people who start every public event now with one of those land acknowledgments, where they say, "I'm standing on land that was stolen from the proud indigenous people of the Chumash tribe," I say either give it back or shut up.
Another criticism often aimed at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is what detractors call performative politics. To them, many of her public appearances feel more like carefully staged moments than genuine leadership. Her public persona emphasizes a working-class identity, portraying her as someone who rose from difficult circumstances to challenge the political establishment. Critics, however, argue that parts of this narrative are overstated. Her background includes time spent in suburban communities rather than exclusively growing up in hardship in the Bronx. And while she often mentions working as a bartender, millions of students across the country take similar service jobs while attending school. For critics, the issue isn't the work itself, it's the way the story is framed. They see it less as raw authenticity and more as a calculated political brand. And as her profile grows, more voters are starting to examine that narrative more closely.
AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun.
AOC has also argued that sexism remains deeply rooted in American society. Critics respond by pointing out the dramatic difference between women's rights in the United States and those in many other parts of the world. American women can vote, own property, start businesses, pursue any career path, hold political office, and live independently. They can speak freely, participate fully in public life, and shape their own futures. In many countries, those freedoms remain limited or heavily restricted. Because of that contrast, critics see describing America as a place that hates women, oversimplifying a far more complicated reality. Disagreement with certain political or cultural positions, they say, doesn't automatically equal misogyny. And that tension between political messaging and real-world comparisons continues to fuel debate.
Congressman Jamal Bowman says capitalism is slavery by another name. No, it's not. It's the thing that has given more people more prosperity and hope than any other system, flawed though it surely is.
Then there's the ongoing argument about capitalism. Critics on the progressive left often attack the system that helped build the United States into one of the world's most innovative economies. Capitalism is built on private ownership, market competition, and the idea that individuals can pursue success through initiative and risk. Supporters argue that this system encourages creativity, invention, and economic growth. Alternatives, such as socialism or communism, promise equality and shared wealth, but historical examples often reveal serious challenges when governments attempt to centrally control entire economies. Countries like Cuba, frequently referenced in debates about socialism, have struggled with economic stagnation and limited incentives for innovation, especially after the collapse of support from the Soviet Union. Critics argue these examples demonstrate how removing market incentives can slow progress. While capitalism certainly has flaws, many economists believe it remains the most reliable engine for innovation and prosperity.
Again, something like the free market is kind of synonymous with America. And if you don't like it, I don't know how you can say you love this country. You know who loves this country? You know who's not constantly complaining about what happened 200 years ago and who's not obsessed with seeing America through colored glasses and shaking off the stench of what irredeemable privileged we are? Immigrants.
Perhaps the strongest reminder of America's appeal comes from immigrants themselves. Every year, millions of people risk everything to reach the United States. They cross deserts, sail dangerous waters, and leave behind everything familiar, not because they expect easy benefits, but because they're searching for freedom and opportunity. If America truly were a dystopian society some critics describe, those journeys wouldn't be happening on such a massive scale. For many newcomers, the country still represents possibility. They've experienced genuine oppression elsewhere, and they recognize freedoms that others sometimes overlook. That's why debates about America's future remain so passionate. The country isn't perfect, no nation is, but for countless people around the world, it still represents one of the strongest symbols of liberty and opportunity. And that's where we'll wrap up today's video. If you found this breakdown interesting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more discussions like this.